On the heels of President Trump's first 100 days in office, Liberal Prime Minister Mark Carney won Canada's national election, who ran largely on an anti-Trump platform. It was an election influenced by the American president, who made repeated threats to annex Canada. Let's bring in CBS News correspondent Shanelle Kaul, who's been following this story from our newsroom. She's also a Canadian. Shanelle, what can you tell us about last night's results and the general response to this particular election?
Well, some interesting results and quite remarkable, frankly, for the first time in 10 years. Canada electing a new prime minister, and this, by the way, marking the fourth Liberal mandate in Canada, which is very rare in Canadian politics. But really, this was just unfathomable a few months ago. Mark Carney's Conservative opponent, Pierre Poilievre, had double-digit leads earlier this year. And then, of course, we know Trump launched this trade war. He repeatedly suggested that Canada should be the 51st state, and that really changed the course of this very short 37-day election campaign. Last night, in his victory speech, Mark Carney mentioned Canada-U.S. relations several times. Listen.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
But you know what, Liz? Carney did not win with a very strong mandate. At this point, it's still unclear whether the Liberals will lead a minority or majority government. And the popular vote was almost an even split, which basically indicates there is a big divide right now in the country. That also means it's going to be a bit of a challenge for Carney going ahead, especially when he travels to Washington, D.C. to sit down and try to negotiate with President Donald Trump. Carney had said in the lead up to this election that if he did win, a meeting with Trump would happen within days.
And, what Donald Trump has done for Canada, it sounds like, has sparked this renewed nationalism. So many people are so proud to be Canadian and proud to support their country. I'm curious, though, with this election, and we've talked so much about the influence Donald Trump has had on it. What are the other issues that Canada was deciding on in this election?
Well, before the trade war was launched by President Donald Trump, there were a couple of other key issues on voters' minds. Top of mind, the economy. Unaffordability, not just when it comes to your groceries, but a big issue in Canada right now is the housing crisis. So that was certainly something that folks wanted to look for when they were deciding who to vote for. Another big issue is health care. There are a rising number of baby boomers right now, and those seniors are now going to need a lot of health care in the years ahead. So a couple of big issues that Mark Carney will also have to deal with, in addition, of course, to the trade war and the potential or suggestion of annexation.
And I'm curious, Shanelle, you're from Canada, you have friends and family still there, and we've talked about the one unifying issue here in this election for both parties is that it's very anti-Donald Trump, anti-tariffs, anti-whatever Donald Trump sees as the future for Canada, it being the 51st state, joking, or not, maybe not so joking, making that a possibility. Is there anybody in Canada, just curious, any fringe group in Canada that actually supports the president?
I think that there are Conservative Party members who support parts of Donald Trump's policies. And we saw this before the trade war was launched, with Conservative candidate Pierre Poilievre. And he leaned on a lot of Trump's rhetoric. For example, the idea of America First was adopted by the Conservative Party in the lead up to the election. And we heard this idea of Canada First. So certainly I think there are parts of the country that do resonate with, Donald Trump's policy, but not the part about annexing Canada. Canadians are extremely proud of who they are and the country they live in. They are not looking to become Americans, it sounds like. And I do think that was a strong mandate in this election campaign. And I think it was also a unifying moment for Canadians on both sides of the aisle, where they found themselves agreeing on something.
What a concept. Two parties actually agree on something. All right, CBS News correspondent Shanelle Kaul. Thank you so much, Shanelle.